Hey, everybody, welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. Andy Lopez showing off them fancy sunglasses. You got Ken Somerville here, your host for tonight's show, and we're talking about how water follows the energy. So, Andy, I know that, a lightning strike, the energy will be flowing through the water, but, I don't think that's what we're talking about here, is it?
No, not really. First of all, I want to tell everybody, I don't know everything. When I say may be wrong, right?
Mhm.
But all I can do is tell you what I feel, what I think, and what I understand about things. And so hi, silly. So it's just a matter of, and one of the reasons we talk about water, and it's also because we talk about the biology, and you can't have the biology without the water. And you can't have the biology or the water without the energy. So that's why we talk about these things. And they say there's any planet that has water has a good chance for life, right?
Right.
No water, no life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, not life as we know it anyway.
Right. Well, that's what we talk about, because we can't imagine life as silicone life or carbon based. We can't imagine any other life. So I'm sure there might be even energy life, beings of light and energy, that kind of stuff. So, and the requirements would be different. So we can already talk about what we understand as life. The basis. And actually, all we can really talk about is Earth, right? That's all we can talk about, Earth, right?
Yeah.
I can't talk about Mars, Venus, or any of that. So this has just to do with what's going on here in Earth, and in terms of life. And it's also interesting about this whole life only being on Earth, because, water is life. It's because we can't, in the solar system, there's hardly any real water oceans. There are some planets that they call water oceans. They have a water on in our system. Not necessarily planets. I think they're like asteroids or small
moons or something.
Moons like that, right? They're either frozen water or some type of water up below ground. But in essence, the Earth is the only planet in our solar system that has an ocean and water actually in the air. So that's the difference, and that's relates to life.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and like I said, other planets, another system, but usually in our solar system, because they're saying, Earth, Mars had water. They're saying maybe other planets had water in the past. But for now, all we can really talk about. But it to me, it's a basic. It's really understand the energy is always the same. The information, the way it works, it has been the same here on this planet, on this solar system for a long time. So in other words, the way the water works and the way energy works. And I was thinking about the title of the show, and it really should say how water serves energy. Maybe another way to say it, right? It's not really follow. So it might even be better to say how water flows with the energy. Flows.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So that explains it a little bit better. Instead of follow, because you're really flowing, you are technically following, right? The water goes whatever, but so what happens is that the energy is the active thing, right? The energy from the sun, it shoots out all over the place. And then there are many different types of energy fields that one has to understand. Electromagnetic fields, there's all kinds of radiation, all these different forms of energy.
Yeah.
Right.
Fields.
So life, when we're talking about biology, we're really talking about this little spectrum of energy that interacts with the biology. It's important for the biology, and it deals with this particular segment of energy. Other segments of energy are actually toxic to us. There are various different things that, like nuclear power plants and the type of radiation produced are toxic to life as we know it, to us, right? But other types of energy, like the sun's energy that we get to the Earth is here, it's good for us, but there are certain types of energy the sun gives out there's not. So there's always these different kinds of energy that will destroy life, and it's also the kind of energy that life flourishes with, or in other words, water flourishes with. And so that's why we're talking about water and energy a lot. And water, and we talked about it a little bit in terms of, we talked a little bit about the image of water and how it's structured, water is structured.
That's next week's show. Stay away from structured water on this one. That's next week.
Is
Yep,
it?
yep.
Okay, I got this. Oh, cool. So we talked a little bit about these things in terms of,
Mhm.
but what's amazing is that throughout the billions of years, there's this interesting relationship with water and energy. And
Mhm.
energy is the data, right? Energy is the data, the different kinds of data fields at the energy, and they're all can be translated to frequencies, and they all function either as a wave, right? A wave of
Yep.
energy, right? Or there's also particles of energy. So
Mhm.
the biology has evolved with tapping. They say, "Oh, I like that. That information there is really cool. It helps us." Or no, we're going to stay away from that. So they learn not to deal with certain types. There's no way you can not deal with certain types. Right, the phases of the moon, they produce a certain type of energy as well too. The moon itself produces energy besides the gravity, the field of gravity that pulls it one way or the other. But the moon also gives off a certain type of energy that's also
Mhm.
we use as well. So as we have evolved, as biology has evolved, the energy has always been there, and the data is what the plants need. The not just the plants, but insects and birds, and they all need different types of data that the biology provides through the water.
Mhm.
You see, right? And so the water, when you look at water, you very rarely see water standing still. It flows. And
Right.
that's the way it is in nature. Water always seems to be flowing. And part of the flowing process is how the energy works, because the energy
Mhm.
flows as well. So the water basically has learned to follow this energy path, because that's the fastest way to get the energy that the biology wants. It makes
Yeah,
sense. If you want
tumbling over rocks, etc., excites the
right,
water, breaks up the molecules, etc.
right, and the energy is there. The energy is
Yeah.
right. The biology is right there, while the water is doing all the things, and it's not still. So the biology has learned, let's go that way with it, right? So when you have
Mhm.
the biology here, so the soil, the earth is constantly pumping biology into the water. And as the water flows through, because it flows through, it's like a filter, right? It's like the way I do when I do my worm farm. Pour some
Mhm.
distilled water through, water flows through, and the biology goes right straight out with the water, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
what happens.
biology can't live without water, just like we can't live without water.
Right, right. And so so when the biology and then the water takes the biology and distributes the biology in very interesting places where the water goes. And
Mhm.
it's interesting too, because the water a lot of times ends up in the ocean, and so it's
Yeah.
dumping biology into the ocean, and the whole thing is intermixing together. It's not like they have a war, or the the soil biology and the water biology. No, it's all the same. When they
Yeah.
get to that place, they actually are like they work together and they merge at their act as one. And so
Yep.
so I've learned to, when I looked at, there was another movie, and I forget. I'm sorry, I've forgotten the name of it. But basically, this German scientist, and I don't know if I told you to before, but he was a lumberman, a
Mhm.
lumber. And so what they did in his country, they have a river. It's a very famous river. I forgot the name of it, and they use it. But when they cut they throw it in the river, and the river flows it down.
Mhm.
Right, the river flows it down, so that instead of putting it in a truck, they just take it, and they learn how to have the water, and it sits on top of the water. It goes all the way down. Then when it gets down to the bottom, they can load it up rather than truck it. Right.
Right.
So what he wanted to do, he wanted to make. He learned that some reason, certain parts, there are several rivers, or one particular river, the logs floated. These logs would
Right.
not sink; they floated. And the other river, they was kind of sink down. They'd be down there fighting with it, and finally get down. But the ones that floated, they could dump more logs on it, and it would literally float them down the river. And then he said, "What's the difference between that?" So what he learned was that that particular part of their country, they had different species of trees, and it
Okay.
turns out it was an ancient volcano site, and it was like, ancient volcano dust or whatever it is that's going up on, very highly mineralized. And the
Mhm.
minerals are what the water, when it rains, it brings all these minerals down, and the minerals happen to be the perfect thing to to give off. The water takes the minerals, right? And
Yeah.
it goes into the data of that mineral. So it's iron, magnesium, or whatever, gets transferred into the water, and the water takes the biology and the minerals down and puts it to other biologies that then can use the minerals.
Right.
Right. And so I it's the same thing when I do my worm farm. I put a lot of minerals in the water and everything that they get. So the liquid has a lot of minerals in the biology, which then gets transferred to other biologies and people's properties, but what the minerals get transferred as well to all these biologies. That's the whole key. That's the whole thing about it, is that we are transferring minerals from one place to another and giving it to the biology in the form that the plants can absorb it, or the humans or the bee. I was always thinking I should drink that stuff, but I don't have the biology in my stomach to convert it,
break it down. Yeah.
to break it down to what I want to do. I'll probably get an upset stomach. But so that's pretty much what I talk about when I talk about water and I talk about energy, is that the exchange and the fact that the water follow the biology. It's really a very tricky statement, because in reality the biology serves the water.
Yeah. Well,
So
and I'm going to bring something up here, Andy. This is from a presentation that I put on, but most people don't understand that clouds are developed by biology, and that without this Pseudomonas syringae, we wouldn't have clouds the way that we do. And so the biology is creating or grabbing onto the water molecules in the air, combining them to make clouds and to make rain that lands on the soil. Pseudomonas goes into the soil structure, it goes into the air, and it goes into the soil and the aquatic structure. It lives in all the different phases, and it is bound to the water molecules in all those phases and producing different information that the biology needs to carry on.
So let me see that picture again. I'll show you. I'll tell you something interesting. The one you just
hold on.
I gotta back up on one more. There you go. So this is a specific. So you know the image of water. This shows you exactly the way these crystals look like. And these crystals are a specific energy signal, energy frequency. You see, this one's just slightly a little different than that one, but that is the data. You physically can see the data. Right, and so that data gets transferred to all these other data. That's why it's in all those different. And I'm not surprised. Remember, we talked about last time that the biology is in the air.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it should be all around the earth. It should, but the problem is that toxins, right? That's all the things we do to it that destroys. We're constantly destroying the biology, and if the biology is not there, the information doesn't get transferred, doesn't have the ability, because it's only the biology that can transfer data from this space to this space. It isn't like somebody shows up, you have mail, right? No, so that's why Mother Nature has developed a way to transfer information. That's why structured water is what Mother Nature decided to use. Let's say, okay, water and energy, you guys are together. And how do I get the information into the water over to the energy so that the biology can read it?
Yeah.
And
you got to consider water is really showing as the first substance. Like this is a chart on how our planet progressed. Water was 4.2 billion years ago, before bacteria could even develop, because the bacteria is a cell. They needed the water inside of the cell to be able to have a cell. So that's why water is the most important, substance on our planet. And it's what was drawing in the energy from the sun through those photons to create life on our planet.
And that's how come water and biology has a very unique relation to it, because what you just basically pointed out there, water came and then biology evolved from the water.
Yeah.
So it was within the water that the biology crystals were made. And these biology crystals started to hold information, and then as they came along, there came, what was it, bacteria next?
Yes, bacteria at 4 million years.
Right, the bacteria was then evolved from the data of the biology, and evolved specifically to read the data of the biology.
Well, and the structure was actually in the water,
right,
and the memory of the water to how to form bacterias. And like I'll show the picture again. You see each cycle here, each break. This is the level where the biology, the bacteria, etc., learned how to use the photons of energy, or those waveforms of
right,
energy, better each time we have a new, thing come out, whether it's the viruses, whether the nitrogen fixating biology.
fungi,
Each one was a better representation or use of the available energy from our sun. And of course, the first one had to be in place before the next one could progress in the evolution of our planet.
right. So what I see happening is that as water starts to as the frequency of the water starts to change. In other words, water was there, the environment that allowed water to be in, but the energy of the sun or the energy surrounding something was happening that the water started to absorb. But it takes a while for the water. So the image of water basically says that these waters have little crystals, right? They're little like images,
Right.
little,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They are formed by the frequencies that form them. So the frequency forced them to form in that shape. So that you can take a frequency and vibrate a whole bunch of salt, and it forms a shape.
Right.
So over the centuries, that frequency kept forming that shape, and finally that shape became the virus, the bacteria. That shape, and then the same energy kept forming and forming it, which then shaped it as it goes. So the biology has been shaped by the energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Well, and they needed the energy to literally to form the biology in the first place, to form that first bacteria. The water molecules had to be there. The blueprint had to be there for it to combine exactly what was necessary in other elements, whether it's magnesium, carbon, etc., to form the superstructure of the bacterial in the cell structure itself. All those components had to be brought together in those first bacteria, to be able to start breaking down other materials to make the next step in the evolution. It's all started out with the water and the coating in the water, in the energy from the sun, giving the necessary, I guess, the steam engine to get things started, into developing every separate stage of life.
I think it too. That's also interesting is that when you talk about blueprint, so my brain goes, wait a minute, who made this blueprint? Where does this blueprint come from, right? Because the blueprint is not just one way you can look at it is that the energy made a blueprint.
Yeah.
But maybe the energy is really a conscious being. Maybe the energy is a conscious being.
Yeah.
Maybe the energy is sub. That's why we have the concept of God and all these other things. Maybe that's the energy, right? Maybe the energy, because the blueprint doesn't evolve, right? Energy, you can't play music and after a while it just changes on its own. Somebody has to have okay, let's build it this way. And inside of it, and the blueprint to me means that it's not just blueprint of this, but a blueprint of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you get a blueprint of everything, right? How do you get a blueprint of everything? And so that's where I've sort of get to that point where I say, okay, I understand there's a blueprint. I understand that the energy created the blueprint. Maybe I could talk to the energy for a little bit. Maybe I could just say, hey, man, because there is something unique going on there, which is kind of, and I'm not really super spiritual because I haven't got stare me in the face and go, hey. But at the same time, I understand, and also I understand too that what's interesting is that this whole thing has to do with math, right? It's all math.
Mhm.
A good mathematician can look at it and say, oh, these things all fall into place, and this is the formula for that. Because there's a formula for a guy invented the formula, the Mendel, it says Mendelbalt, something like that, Mendelbalt.
Okay.
He wrote the formula down. He said, wow, this, and he wrote it down. It's just like Einstein. This is the E equal MC squared. It's a formula for energy. So he wrote this particular formula for this particular type of energy. I relate to it as a consciousness. If it's a consciousness, it's a being. That's why that's the kind of energy that I would relate it to, because it's not an energy that doesn't have a consciousness. It seems to have a consciousness. That way, they discovered that the universe is conscious. Exactly right. And to me, that's it's a little bit mind blowing, because they say, okay, so. And I always tell people that there's a greater conscious and a small conscious. We are the small conscious. The greater consciousness is the universe. But we are the same when we talk about the drop of water in the ocean. The ocean is the consciousness. But the consciousness is kind of interesting in a lot of ways. And I just started to grasp it. You have to do some really good LSD, some really good. Yeah, you have to go out. You have to step out of the whole thing and go, holy cow. And what does all that mean? Like the whole thing about the matrix, right? And so, and there is a matrix. So there is, and I totally believe that it's a holographic. But none of these things manifest out of nothing. Something causes it to manifest. You know, something like in the beginning was the word. Okay, cool. I got that part, right? I got that part. In the beginning was the word, but the word is what? It's a form of consciousness. It's energy. It's a frequency. It's a vibration. You know what I mean? So that frequency, that vibration, it's a consciousness. So I got to that point. I haven't gotten any further because I have to probably. My consciousness is probably not capable of understanding this beyond consciousness thing.
Well, if you're using your mind, then you have a problem connecting. If you go through your soul or your internal energy and connect,
no
then
problem.
that will open up the veil of understanding.
Right. So on one level, I don't have to speak about it because I feel it. I understand that when I talk to the universe, I'm actually talking to a conscious being that. But at the same time, I also see it like, okay, so in my body, there are all these biologies, and they don't know they're in the body. They have the things so it's the very same thing going on in our bodies. They have no idea that there's a consciousness here, and there's a blueprint for this body to make it work the way it is. Because remember, I talked about a fractal. Same as above, so below. This is what's going on here. So what's going on in our bodies, the same thing that's going on out there. So for all we know, we are in something else's body, who's inside something else's body. Was inside something else's body.
I've always thought, Andy, that there's a giant out there, and there's a cell on his thumbnail that we exist in, and as soon as it grows out long enough, he's going to trim it off, and then our whole universe is going to be gone as a trim nail.
It could be as simple as that, and I think that there's something to that, because when you look at a fractal, it does tell you can go all the way in or all the way out.
Yeah.
And so I think the way that the universes, because we talk about universe, I think there's more than one universe. So
dimensions, etc.
Right, more than one consciousness, unless of course it's all one consciousness, just different parts of that same consciousness kind of thing. That's also very possible too. Because I say universe, I've been lately changing my saying about universe. I've been thinking something else. Something else, because you have so many different universes. At least I think you do. You would have, and so that would be logical. Many different consciousness. That's why I like Marvel comics. Doctor Strange, who talks about the multiverse and all these things. They don't get this out of nowhere. Some of these writers go, "Oh, I think I'll write about this." See,
it just flashes into their head, and all of a sudden, it's a whole new concept. And Star Trek, we just had those flip communicators. Then we had the flip phone. Pretty soon we're going to have the buttons on our chest, where we can just tap it to make phone calls,
So it's a very interesting, but all we can really deal with is right now. All we can really deal with how can we be in tune with the energy that flows, because we're living in a world of energy. literally. We're surrounded by
yeah,
energy,
literally.
and
Yeah.
energy flows through us all the time. I was reading about this little cosmic black holes, tiny, teeny weeny little black holes. We're surrounded with them everywhere. So it's not like a black hole's out there. Never. There's a black hole right here in my room. Lots of them all over the place because of that. As we go, so it's a process of understanding a little. You don't need to understand the whole thing. You just have to know that there's something going on, and it has to do with water and energy, and it has to do with how we as a biology, our biology have evolved, and we have to understand that the biology that's us and the biology, we're not a better biology than the biology in the soil. It's not a matter of we're the gods and they are the slaves. It could be the opposite way around for all I know, right? They could be the gods and we could be the slaves. But I kind of think that we as a biology are very we can actually see other biologies. I'm pretty sure that birds and insects do that too, but they don't say, "Oh, look, another being." It doesn't fade. They don't even think about that. So we have this unique ability in our consciousness to understand things, to understand the laws of the universe. So that's what makes it really cool. And at the same time, what we want to do when we're dealing with the energy and water is understand that there are things that are bad for this system, things that we can do that will screw up the whole connection that we have here. And if we lose that connection, I don't think it's going to happen again because it's very unique things that happen to make this happen. Right? They have the water and the energy have to be in the right. That's why they call it Goldilocks zone.
Goldilocks zone, yeah.
Right. That has to be in the right place where the energy doesn't destroy the biology. And quite often, and I think pretty soon, maybe a couple of billions from now, the sun's going to blow up in our face to take away the biology. Right. So it's a very interesting, chaotic time. A fractal basically has one center of peace. The rest of it's chaotic. And so in our case, we're in that center of peace, but the chaos can come here anytime and just wipe us out.
Well, I want to point out to people just how much biology actually is, in our bodies. We consider that, we're the dominant thing in our bodies, but there's only 20,000 human genes in your body.
And look at the biology. Yeah.
2 to 20 million microbial genes in your body. The little red spot down here, that's how much human we are. The rest is the coding of the biology.
And that's really cool because in reality, we're just housing all the biology.
It's like a plant is the house for the biology. Right. The biology, our bodies are just the house for the biology that it creates this structure, whether it's a plant structure, a human structure, an animal structure. It's the biology that builds the cells, runs the cells, commissions the cells, breaks them down and reuses the material, or as our skin, it sloughs it off, we lose it. But say a heart cell that is reached its life expectancy, it's literally broken down by the biology to be reused to make more heart cells and to make more biology, which runs the heart cell. It's an amazing situation.
In Star Trek, they call it, the aliens call them bags of water.
Yeah, I call it bags of biology, man.
Yeah, and I like this sack of biology. And what's the problem is that so trees, ants, birds, they don't have the ability, nor do they care to destroy everything. They don't produce toxins like we do. They don't do all this stuff. So that's what's different with us. We can literally destroy the biology that we're made up of,
which maintains our life. And that's what we have been doing.
Exactly
with the pesticides and the herbicides. We've been killing the biology that is the only way we can exist.
That's exactly
people need to find that out.
Unfortunately, we're also destroying everybody else's biology, all the birds' biology, the trees' biology. It's one thing if what we did only affected us and the earth continued and everybody else continued. I would say, cool, that's fine. You want to destroy yourself, you go ahead. But not what we're doing is we're cutting the whole tree of life down.
You know it.
That's a very weird thing that we're doing, because that tree of life is not like you have a billion trees that's going to come back up again. right?
It's a
We may
matter
not.
of people don't understand, Andy, just the damage that they're actually doing. Just eating processed foods, the chemicals that they're putting into our foods is damaging the biology that runs our bodies and keeps us healthy. The more we consume of that, the worse we are. That's why people are wanting to go back to growing, naturally and organically to get that back into their systems, and it's one of the things that makes your business flourish is you're using the biological in what you're doing to bring the life and the health back to the trees and the environment that those trees exist in. It's all, like I say, it's all about the biology.
And this is really a show that doctors should watch, right? Professionals should watch,
Yeah.
because if they keep giving us take these drugs, which destroys the biology, then they're not going to be in business for us. Matter of fact, they won't be alive either. I would
Yep.
think. I would think that these doctors would be really hip to doing something that really works for the biology as a whole, rather than for the money purposes. And so it's really weird that the path we've gone down, because you look at agriculture, you look at medicine, none of these are about the biology. They don't concentrate on any of those things at all. They don't say, well, you should eat. Me, I relate to it right away. I keep telling people, if you really want to have a high consciousness, you want to reach samadhi. I mean, I bet you anything, Buddha did not have this problem when he was here. I bet you he didn't have the forever chemicals. I bet you nobody ever heard of cancer before, or nobody. Maybe they may be smoking cigarettes, but it's not the tobacco that kills the people. It's the chemicals in the tobacco. I read an article.
And in the filters. The filters are worse than the tobacco.
I mean the whole thing. I was reading online. The guy said there was a study done, and coffee kills worms. Coffee destroys the soil. Coffee does this. All these bad things. And so I'm going, well, first of all, coffee is toxic if it's grown organic. It's full of chemicals, and it will do exactly that to all these things. It will kill every single worm you feed it to, right? If it has toxins, and that was a very weird thing, because the guy was, and I think it was done by the chemical companies, because they try to equate that coffee is so bad for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really. I don't understand why the purpose of it was, because they didn't say that. They didn't say really anything other than you can't use coffee grinds in your garden. You can't use coffee grinds for any of these things that you think would be really good. You know what he promoted to use? Ashes.
And that's even worse.
He said,
well, here's our
ashes.
Scientists. Here's
said,
they're upside
ashes
down with their heads in the dirt. That's where our science is.
Right. He was saying, put ashes in the soil, and you'll get all the minerals and everything you need. And I'm going, gee whiz. And so it has to be an effort to inform people. It has to be done on purpose. There's nobody that stupid would say, if you eat this, it's no good, because like coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I've been feeding my worms coffee for years. I put coffee in the soil. I do all kinds of things. It's not the coffee. Just like with the tobacco. Indians have been smoking tobacco for centuries. It's not the tobacco, it's everything else. And I was talking to your friends when we had the round table. He was drinking beer. We talked about beer. There's 72 chemicals in the beer. You make beer at home totally clean to drink. And the drinking water, the city water. So I went out. Hi, everybody. Hi, Serena. So we went out to a restaurant. I don't like going to a restaurant, but they had a little, my friends got together. So she wanted, another friend wanted to take them out. I said, okay, I'll go. I'll sit there. And the thing about it is that she says, you should just tell them, because I tell them I don't do dairy, I don't do bread, I don't do any of these things. Well, get some broccoli. Tell me you want steamed broccoli, and that's all you want. I said, well, I can't even really drink the water, because the water is not filtered out. It's got so much chemicals in the water, the water. And people just go to restaurants, and these are persons who do organic shopping at home.
Yeah.
But they go to a restaurant and they eat whatever. On top of that, I was reading so they have this restaurant where they will cater to vegetarians. but they cook it in the same thing that they cook the meat in.
Yeah.
And so if people go back and say, why does this taste so weird? Well, I don't know. Well, maybe you may want to have a separate place to cook it in. So, so what I'm learning is that we have gotten to the point where we had better pay attention to the toxins. So I'm writing an article called Toxins, 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 Toxins. It's all about toxins. We should have a show called It's All About the Toxins. Right? Maybe we should. We haven't done that yet. We did it in the roundtable, but maybe we should, because that's what it is we're surrounding ourselves with tons and tons of toxins. And what's happening, I think, especially in the biology and the soil, they're not there, but it doesn't mean there's nothing there. What's there is what can survive in a toxic environment, which usually doesn't have nothing to do with, it's a different kind of biology, I think. Like diseases and stuff like that, they're all different kind of. Am I wrong? Diseases are not a different kind of biology as opposed to non-diseases.
Well, you can go down to the viruses, and that's a totally different thing. And we have a multitude of viruses. Just let me pull that part of my presentation up here, because I do actually have something. That was the genes. Resident viruses. Let's bring that up. Make it larger. So 10 trillion human cells, 90 trillion microbial cells, 1 quadrillion resident viruses in the human body.
Right. And these are resident viruses, could be anything from cancer to whatever. So I tell people it's already there.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing with the soil. You have all these diseases, all these viruses in the soil waiting for the opportunity to come out. And what makes it the opportunity is the good guys are not there. I hate to say good guys and bad guys, but that's obviously what we're talking about. When you take away the good guys, guess what comes back stronger than ever before? It's the bad guys. So, and that's what's happening now. I think that's why I'm seeing more and more diseases on plants, and pets are going nuts more and more because the biology, the good biology that controls these are not there. I just wrote an article about ant control in a column I'm writing, and it just has to do with when you have an ant problem. You don't have an ant problem. You have a soil problem, or in reality, you have a biology and the soil problem. And you may even have a biology in your body problem, because you're not that you have ants, but if you're in that toxic environment, there's no way you're not going to get the toxic environment into your body.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see what this person said. My brother used to smoke tobacco in the pipe. Oh, silly. I can't read it. What does it say? Tell me.
Okay, the conversation started up here with Super Nessa saying, I'm convinced tobacco out of a pipe is false information. He's a native from Eastern Canada, and we're always talking about the peace pipe and smoking tobacco out of the pipe. And he's saying it's extremely harsh, and he's tried it. And so that's where Silly Lily said, my brother used to smoke tobacco in a pipe. His pipe was intricately carved. Tobacco smelled sweet. So there's different types of pipe tobacco is a different type of tobacco altogether, and it's the mix that gives the sweetness, etc. But I want to just bring up this image here for you to look at, Andy. Is this human bioenergetic field, and it shows the energy around us, and that's the energy that is intrinsic to us and intrinsic to the water that is in the cells of our body. Consider there's cells that have 20 or 33 billion molecules of water in a single cell. That's why we're so much water, and that's where that energy, that flow, and it's the same with our plants.
So when I do one of the reasons why I do gem elixirs is to because a lot of time when you're sick and you're diseased, your energy pattern very different. You're not you're not putting out the right frequency that you should be when you're healthy. When you're healthy, your body will put out a certain frequency. When it's not healthy, it doesn't have the same energy. It puts out a different frequency. That's because the water that you're getting is not producing that frequency. That's why water is so important. But it's also very important you have clean water, water that's energized properly, so your body can use it. In nature, you don't have that problem with that. You go drink water from a stream, right? Drink water from the rain. You're gonna get it. But nowadays, try to drink water from a stream, right? Or the water that people are drinking. I think people know what a stream is, right? They just go get a plastic bottle of water and drink it, or the city water. City water is super toxic. Let's read this. What's it say? I can't
One
read it.
good example of water follows the energy is a pinch of salt in your drinking water. The salt is the energy that the water follows into your cells. Without it, you don't absorb water into your cells.
Right. So it's the same thing with the energy. And everything follows in biology. The way we have the water, the way we have water flowing through our body, is basically flowing through the energy patterns that we produce. When our body, we have 108 different chakras. It flows a certain way, and that energy goes a certain way. It follows. It has a path that it goes, and the water has learned this. Let's go that way, because that's going to take us everywhere the water needs to go, and everywhere that the energy goes, the water is the one that transfers it to the cells. The water has the data. The energy doesn't have the data. It's the water that has the data. In this case, salt. So it's a perfect example of how water carries it, and it follows the energy, and it carries the salt. And it would do the same thing with minerals, any type. So what I've learned to do is I say, okay, and that's the basics of radionics. When radionics means that if this is so I give you an example of the one thing that you do. So when you're healthy, you take a picture of you when you're healthy, you vibrate a certain frequency. The radionics device can tell you this is a certain frequency. And when you're sick, if you take a picture of when you're sick, you see this is the way your frequency is now. You can transfer that frequency back to you and increase your frequency that way.
Yeah. And people have to understand that each organ in our body actually has a specific frequency that is set up for it. So your liver, your kidneys, they're all different frequencies. Think about it, guys. We're a bloody orchestra.
Exactly.
You're a piece of beautiful
It does that on purpose, because a certain frequency also relates to certain minerals. Your organ needs a certain type of minerals. Your skin needs a certain type. Your eyes need a different type of minerals. And that's a very cool way that somehow Mother Nature has developed this very unique system of transferring the information to the organs that it needs. The same thing with trees, the same thing with insects. They all have certain frequencies that affects them that they can key into. And what's interesting about insects and stuff is they can actually see these frequencies. You can see their
waveform. We don't see all the different, waveforms of light. We only see in a very small spectrum. There's light way above and way below what we can see, and it's that entire circumference of the energy that's flowing into our bodies that the insects see that we don't even see.
So when I started early in my how should I say, my mind expansion trips, I got to the point where I could see those other frequencies, those other energy patterns, whether it be the ultraviolet or infrared, or even further beyond. And so and that's how I got to learn about those things, because I felt that I could see them, and even now I can still see them in terms of what we're surrounded in. But unfortunately, you can also see for example, electricity is not a very natural system. It's not very good for the human body. Electricity is not found in nature. Lightning is not the same form as electricity that we pump through our house. See, remember Tesla came up with alternative current, which is more in tune with our biosystem than this current that we have now. It's a very toxic environment to be in, this kind of energy that we are surrounding ourselves all the time. So it not only it penetrates into our body and changes our energy system, but it also does immense damage to the biology of the soil, or any other plant or any other insect. And so it's getting to the point where I see more and more energy fields coming up that counteract the bad energy. I see more and more of that all the time, and that's really
Right.
cool. And there are lots of different systems that you can use now to energize a certain area that will then protect you. You emit the right frequency out, and you're fighting it with against the bad frequencies. We're
Yeah.
surrounded, like I'm right next door to a fire department. They have this tower, that tower, this tower. I used to live next to the military base. Holy cow, right? You know what I mean? And then when I go
Mhm.
up to the mountain, there's a big giant, not radar, microwave.
Mhm.
Holy cow. So the thing moves like this, and you go, I better get out of here. So you can see all the different, and it really damages the electromagnetic fields of every living field, every living being.
Yeah.
Insects have an electromagnetic field, trees have electromagnetic fields, humans have right? And it damages. But if if you were to take away our technology, you would find that all the electromagnetic fields, all the beings are harmonized together. They don't conflict with each other.
Yeah.
Whereas now we have it so it's conflicting all the time. We're damaging the environment right at the energetic level. At the
Well, I
energetic
don't fear, I should say, the different frequencies. What I fear is when they're concentrating them, and it's like this cell phone. I don't put it up to the side of my head because there's frequencies going in and out of this, 24/7, 365. If you've got it here, it's got to pass through your head. That's where I don't live by, high tension, wires, power wires, because they put off a frequency that's known to damage, the biology that builds the cells,
Yeah, they
making you
passed a
sick.
law. They passed a law that you can't have a school for kids underneath those wires.
About bloody time. And then is that only in California?
I don't know, but they also said that you can't build a house underneath those wires. So now they have nurseries.
Yeah.
I know it's in California. Probably that's how weird we are here, but it's very possibly other places. And it does that. They passed a law. They found that
Mhm.
if you have schools, you start to live there, you're going to get all kinds of diseases, all kinds of stuff, and nobody knows what's happening other than the magnetic fields of that lines are interfering with your body. And you know what sharp smart meters are?
Yes, I do. We've got them in Canada too. They're actually banned in some areas because of the damage that they're doing to people's bodies with that, you know, uh, and it's that concentration again,
It's a certain
right?
frequency that's really,
Yeah.
really super bad. Really super bad. Oh, there you go. What happened? You left. Oh, you're
No,
back.
I hit the wrong button.
You hit that wrong. You did that on purpose. And so it's actually as I was talking about in the roundtable that this Wi-Fi is really a military leftover. So they have Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7. When they originally created it, they wanted to be able to literally shoot you with EMF rays concentrated to you to disrupt your cells, to blow up your
Yeah,
cells.
yeah. And they
And
actually did that
yeah,
in, I think it was Cuba or Peru. The US
they
embassy,
did
they were
that.
having a problem
Yeah,
where
Cuba.
where people were getting sick, and there
Yeah,
was a scientist. They actually wiped out him and almost his entire team. They changed the frequency coming off of the air conditioning unit
yeah.
to a frequency that literally, melted the cells inside
It
their
blows
body,
their cells up. It blows their the cell walls up.
yeah, and just like, my God, really?
Right. And so and now and we're going in that direction because all these satellites around the Earth, which are
Yep.
transmitting down to the Earth, are constantly interacting with our electromagnetic fields, our own bodies, the
Mhm.
water structure of the water, the energy of the water,
Yeah.
disrupting. The signals do not get transferred. So we're becoming, and it doesn't. I don't see how that's going to change because the only way to change, tell people, okay, you're complaining about you stick your hand in the fire and you say, oh my God, I'm burning my hand. Oh my God, oh my. Well, you got to take your hand out of the fire, right? If you take your hand out of the fire, it stops. But right now, we're our hands in the fire, the hands are burned, the legs are burned, everything is burning, and we're still doing it. And
Yeah.
I think the only end result is that it will be bye bye humans, and if we're lucky, humans will go first, and then other things will survive somehow. Because I don't see how they're going to survive. I mean, okay, so just say the humans go, right? Are all these nuclear power plants, are they going to just shut down? Everything to convert back to normal stuff? No.
Well, it's the nuclear power plants. If we weren't there, they'd blow up. But that wouldn't be the first time that nuclear has been
like
part of
Chernobyl.
our system. It's just a matter of it would take enough time.
Yeah, right.
As long as there was some biology left, and
I think
the
there will be.
structure in the water is still there, the data that's stored, then Mother Nature would slowly start all over again, starting with that base biology, that bacteria, and move forward.
I hope there will be. The only problem is I see humans building nuclear power plants all over the place. I don't think there's in Africa, maybe too much, maybe that might be good, right? Not in Africa, maybe not in New Zealand, not having nuclear
I don't know.
I'm not sure if Australia has a nuclear. Oh yeah, they do in Sydney.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's lots of different things, and there's so much new technology. Like I follow a lot of the new technology, like nano particles that they're using in the solar panels now to be able to collect more energy and more of the wavelengths that are hitting from the sun. There's thoramine or thorium. Thorium. Yeah, there's so much new stuff. We don't need the old technology the way that they're saying we do. They just want the money for building that, $200 billion plant that takes them 20 years to build, where they can build a different one for a tenth of the price that only takes a year, but it doesn't have the money coming in, baby.
Thorium is named after the god Thor. They actually have 2 nuclear power plants in the world. One's in India and one's in I think it's Russia. And now the thing about thorium is it does not produce radioactive waste.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why people like building nuclear power plants is because the radioactive waste is also used in making a dirty atomic bomb. They wanted to use that radiation for atomic energy, atomic bombs, and they could have done that a long, long time ago. And it works better. You don't have any nuclear waste. It doesn't cost as much, but there's a factor that the military will. Other countries use that, like China builds a nuclear power plant every month. They have all this nuclear waste, and they're using it to build whatever nuclear weapons they want to use with dirty bombs.
Well, and where are you getting the isotopes for cancer treatments? It's from those nuclear power plants, specific ones that are using specific material. But I know the one in Canada here shut down, I think 5 or 6 years ago, and they had a big, to do about not having enough to give people radiation therapy. But that actually leads me to the question Serena wanted to ask here. Does the soil health where tobacco is grown make any difference in whether or not the user could develop cancer? And no, it does not.
You don't get cancer from tobacco.
No, exactly.
You don't get cancer from tobacco. The Native American Indians, as a matter of fact, you can buy it now. It's called Native American Indian tobacco, and no chemicals whatsoever. They sell you the leaves, and they've been smoking that stuff for centuries. No cancer. You get the cancer, first of all, from the filters, the junk, and so much, the paper, the tobacco is in, and then the tobacco itself. Tobacco has over 72
chemicals.
72 different chemicals in it. I have a chemical not to burn too fast. The chemicals help it burn, right? They have a chemical, so many different chemicals, not to mention the pesticides and the fungicides and all these other things.
Yeah.
That is what kills you. So if you was to do organic tobacco that has nothing else, you don't roll it in paper, unless you do the organic paper in the. You won't get the cancer from the tobacco. The tobacco. If you grow tobacco, you should have a reason for growing it. If you smoke it, that's fine. You'll be okay. You're probably going to get cancer just from walking around the street. You're
going to get more likely to get cancer living in a city, breathing the environment there, than smoking a pack a day. Okay. cancer is in our bodies. That is already encoded with all those viruses, etc., that I showed earlier. That's all in our bodies. The thing is if you're keeping your biology strong, it recognizes the cancer cells and destroys them. You never get cancer. It's when you have hurt the biology in your body. And from what I understand it, there's a particular one that's a mucus, forms a mucus layer in our in stomach and intestines, where if you're lacking that particular biology in your system, you're almost guaranteed to get cancer, because that's what is necessary to fight the cancer. And every time you take an antibiotic, bang, it's gone.
It all starts in your stomach.
Yep, your gut bio.
Everything starts in your stomach. Just like in the soil, all diseases and pests start in the soil. So the same thing with the body, the body. Yep. And we're not any different than the soil in a lot of ways. So
the plants,
if you learn about the soil, about how to bring the soil back. Look, I'm 75. I'll probably live to be 210. If
230 at least, Andy. Come on.
That would be if I'm constantly surrounded by toxins. It's like I would rather get in a spaceship, right? And not stick my head out. But that's the issue. The environment, the toxins in the environment. So I just recently ordered a filter for the car, an air filter to go to the car, a portable one. Four of them, one for each room in my house. I got a picture of every week I clean the truck because it's covered with this black soot. I got to hose the front and front door and the back door of the soot, and I'm pretty sure I don't see it in the back of the house, but I do see it all in the front. And I'm thinking I need to get out of here because I'm going to die of cancer or stuff because it goes into my body, right? And it absorbs through the skin, absorbed now through the air, through the skin.
The biggest organ on our bodies is our skin.
And the body, after a while, your body can only handle so much of that.
Yeah.
And then it starts to break down, and all kinds of things happen. Whether it be the virus that that people are taking the vaccine for, that's another story there too. We can talk about it. We may get kicked off, but
we stay away from that one.
You stay away from that. It's the same thing with almost any disease, anything.
Yeah.
It's the toxins that we get in our body inhibits us to absorb the necessary minerals, which are trace minerals, which then gives us the necessary frequency that we need to continue functioning. Same thing with diseases and trees. If the trees don't get a certain mineral, they're not going to be able to have the same frequency, which basically that's what the mineral really does in the long run. Remember we talked about why we really eat minerals? Because we want to get this frequency, and the frequency harmonizes with everything else. If we're out of tune, we're not going to be able to survive very long. That's why it comes. That's why it comes down to it. That's why I like the title of the show so much, because we can literally talk about people as well.
Yeah, and Super Nessa makes a good point here. Most clean their counters, then make their food on it. And the comment that he had before is, I believe it's the cleaning supplies we use that cause cancer, and that's just one small small part of it.
I use
everything.
I use vinegar. Vinegar is great. Doesn't cause any cancer. It does the very same thing. Cleans it better. And the matter. So it's we have in our garage, in our kitchen, we have more chemicals than ever before.
Like Silly Lily points out, the candles that people put in their houses that are a chemical soup. It used to just be straight beeswax. There was nothing there that would harm you. Now, my God, the stuff they put in them, is huge.
I love this commercial where the guy, it smells awful here. He went and bought something, and it has this perfume. It has this, it smells great. Right. I wouldn't last more than 1 week smelling that stuff because that's pure toxic. We're eating. We're being told, do this, do that, and all of it is toxic. Now, one thing I have yet to see anything, and it's the same thing with exactly the candles, the stuff, the scent, the smell you want, right? It's like, holy cow, these things are like you can't.
Well, we used to go out and harvest rose petals, and that's what you would put around because that was the smell that you wanted, was the rose. Now they do it with chemicals. It's like,
and it's not a rose. It's some toxic that your body
exactly.
It smells nice, but inside you're going, no, 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 no,
Your
no.
body's going, no.
And so and we're driving around. Like I had moved out to Camarillo, and I moved away from there because I could see this brown fog, this brown toxic. Everybody's walking around in it. Hey, it's cool. I'm happy. I'm going, no, no. I really wanted to wear a oxygen mask and clothing because it doesn't do me any good to stop breathing it. Your body is still breathing it. Your hands,
it's going right through your skin. Yeah,
it's still breathing it. I want to get a suit that you wear. Oh, hey,
Bubble Boy.
Yeah.
You made a movie about Bubble Boy.
Did they? Everything's fine. The thing, like, it'd be like this, I'm okay. Everything's fine. Yeah.
So we do have one more question before we jump, Andy. Here, we were talking about springs, etc., the water coming up, also the rotation of the Earth and temperature. How does a spring flow out of the ground on a mountain?
There are lots of places the water flows up, and there
Pressure.
are many reasons. Exactly, many reasons for that. The Earth has a way of pushing the water right up.
Well, look at a field, Andy. A farmer that has rocks in his field, if he doesn't work it up, the rocks don't come up. As soon as he works it up, the rocks come up. How are those coming out from deep underground and slowly, year after year, coming up to the surface? How does that happen?
So there's lots of things going on with the Earth that can also too, like when you you know how lava flows up through it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you have these lava tunnels that are not there, and of course the water and so what happens down in the Earth, it gets hot and it makes the water rise, and lots of ways to make that happen too. And so you just have to understand that the Earth, if you go away for thousands of years and come back, or maybe 10,000 years, maybe 100,000 years, the Earth will still be here, and hopefully water life will still be here. And you'll see how they will all naturally start harmonizing the water. Water is an amazing thing in the sense that there's fresh water and there's salt water, right? You see what I mean? And you need the fresh water to survive. You can't really survive if you only have salt water. So the way the whole system has fallen into place, it's meant for life. It's set up for us to live in. Yeah. And I don't understand. And it goes back, I guess I was talking to another guy. He said, well, God gave us a choice. He said, he gave us a choice and we keep screwing up. And he can't do anything about it because he says, your choice. You can destroy or create or live in harmony. If I were God, I would say, no, this is one way you're going to do it. You don't like it, you're out.
But then that goes free will out of the equation, and
the free will out.
Free will.
Take the free will out, right? So what's going on? Somebody says, "Oh, who's that? Operation Annihilation." Oh my God, that sounds scary. Wow.
And Indiana Backyard Gardener.
Oh, you guys are just showing up. We're almost done here, guys. As a matter of fact, we're done.
I know, but guys. Andy's going to be on with Leighton on Monday, guys. So you're going to want to definitely check that out. And then next week, Andy, we're talking about water, structured water.
Structured water. Yeah. Next week, I'm going to show you guys a couple of really interesting tricks that people have learned throughout the year, especially the guy, Image from Water, how he structured water. I'll show you how I structured water. And I even show you an instrument that I made that structures water, so you guys can you make it yourself. But we'll talk about those things next week. And remind me again, because I don't know what the heck is going on here. I always have fun. I really enjoy being here, and I'm so happy to be with you guys. And you guys out there are absolutely amazing, right? Smash the like button, gardeners, and
thumbs up too,
because we need it here. We need it to continue doing this, and we will. But if you don't like us, then I'm going to stop. I'm supposed to say, heck with this. I'm going to go. Maybe I'll right?
Okay, guys. On Andy's stopping note, let's stop, Andy. Peace out, everybody. We'll catch you on Monday with Andy.